Hi, I'm Don Reed. This is a very brief video about the changes in Lambeth Conference resolutions on marriage and family in the past several decades. My story has two parts. The first part concerns changes in the Lambeth Conference resolutions about marriage and family. The second part concerns changes in the makeup of Anglican consultative bodies. That's a separate video. On a traditional notion of marriage and family, a marriage is monogamous and indissoluble, heterosexual and hierarchical, and procreative and intra-ethnic. So monogamous and indissoluble, heterosexual and hierarchical, procreative and intra-ethnic. If we look at television gives us several different pictures of a traditional family. According to some of those pictures, the traditional family is not necessarily ideal. Some cartoonists' account of the debate about traditional marriage represents traditional marriage as having to do with women as property. Some cartoonist representations actually focus on the hypocrisy of some socially conservative politicians with respect to traditional marriage. And some cartoons have to do with the way marriage has changed in ways that everyone would approve. So I'd like to talk briefly about the pattern of change that we can see in the resolutions adopted by the Lambeth Conference with respect to features of a traditional idea of marriage. The top row in the table that you can see lists all of the Lambeth conferences that have occurred. In the rows below them are red X's, yellow X's, and green X's. So what I'd like you to think about is the pattern red, yellow, green. So let me illustrate this with an idea from my childhood. When I was a child, I was overweight, and I was very concerned about my being overweight, at least by the time I hit adolescence and became interested in So I'd like to illustrate this pattern with the way we have come to view fat. I paid attention to the fact that when I was in middle school, people said, look, you shouldn't eat fat. You should eat a diet low in fat. Fat's bad for you. Fat makes you fat. Sugary foods are fine, but just eat less fat. Then there was a period, far after my middle school, much closer to now, when scientists started telling us that actually some fat may be good and we need to study this problem. That's represented by the yellow. Red, no fat, avoid fat. Yellow, we need to think about this. Maybe some fat's okay. But then there was a period, now, when people recognized that some fat is actually good for us. For example, omega-3 fatty acids are essential fats. They help some bodily functions. We need those fats. Furthermore, brown fat actually burns calories, though white fat is what makes us look fat. So some fat is good. So the idea is that we start out saying no, and then we say, well, we need to think about this. And then finally we say, actually, some of what we said no to is okay. So I want to look at that pattern with respect to the Lambeth Conference resolutions on the facets of an idea of traditional marriage and family.